Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, aka Valerie Ames, aka Ocean 9. And I'm going to do the tarot portion of um, the individual and collective um, spiritual information on guilt and what is coming up. As far as the current events, as far as my own personal feelings, as far as what I am getting as an anchor and what I'm picking up from the ethers and just everything that's flowing through me. And we're going to do this now from the tarot cards. And the cards have already been cleaned and chosen and everything just to save time. And so we will begin now. And this is in no particular order. So just bear with me, beloveds, and just center and ground yourself to receive the information and the revelations that are coming through me, that are coming from me, that are coming to me, and that is just, it is what it is. I'm going to close the door, my patio door, just because there's a little noise. So just bear with me for one moment while I pause. Okay, beloveds, let me begin. The first card is from Abraham Hicks, Getting Out of the Vortex. The card is number 59, and it's, I'll not ask others to become different from me. And remember, beloveds, this is on the subject of guilt. That is amazing. I'll not ask others to be different from me. And the me is the bigger head, and the littler head is others. And you're holding the others and you're comparing them. Okay? And it says, let your vibrational relationship escrow, percolate, and give it your undivided attention so that you can become a vibrational match to it. And then when the law of attraction brings all of it together, there are not any bugs to work out. Wow, that's very important. Let me see how this goes without this light, beloveds. Okay, we'll leave it without the light. We'll leave it without the light. Okay, excuse me for fidgeting. Let's just get back to it. Vibrational relationship. In the other videos that I did, we spoke of guilt being a vibrational frequency. One that is not just felt and given birth to by an individual, but a collective, and also from a generational point of gestation and evolution and ascension process. It is passed on and on and on and on and on. And no one has taught us how to address this guilt. Right now, it is coming up in America as racial guilt. And that guilt is dealing with Black people, African Americans, whatever you want to call them, brown, red, human beings who have been brought from one place to another place in the capacity as chattel slaves. Okay? There is guilt associated with that. A being cannot incarnate into this physical realm, into this human body, without bringing at least an unconscious awareness of universal laws and morality with it, is what I am receiving. And because this is the age of Aquarius, we are being filled up once again with a level of conscious awareness, spiritual conscious awareness, that is awakening or quickening our own universal sense of morality once again. It's flicking that switch on. It's allowing that current to flow once again. And the things that we have been guilty of, we can no longer stand, even to just witness it without speaking up, because that is the way the flow of energy is right at this time. And so everyone is dealing with the feeling of guilt that is present in this world, on this earth plane right now as a frequency. Whether you're dealing with it individually or collectively, whether you're dealing with it from a space of conscious awareness that it must be changed, or whether you're dealing with it from a conscious or unconscious perspective of you don't want to deal with it anymore. You want things just to keep going the way they're going. All of this is interwoven together. It is paradox, it is contrast, it is amplified and magnified by those who are aware of what is happening. And that awareness is broadening. And the need to do something about it is growing. It is growing inside of us. And we know that the changes that we're going to be able to make are for the next generations. And the next generations going forward will not have as much guilt to deal with, because we're dealing with it right now. We are having the courage and the stamina and the endurance to look at the guilt and to correct it with the sovereign authority of our spiritual sovereignty. Basically speaking, knowing that we can. Knowing that we can. The higher consciousness can affect the lower consciousness. And that it is a vibrational relationship. Let me read this card again. I'll not ask others to become different from me. And I want you to understand that from I don't want to say basic, but I will say from the grit and the gravel of the foundation of it, beloveds. The bare material here is to understand that what existed, the conscious awareness that was you, that existed before incarnating into this physical body and becoming aware of what in your mind seems to be a separation. Before that separation happened, you were connected to all. You were one with universal laws. You were one with that universal consciousness. There was no split. There was no division. There was none of that. It is only when you incarnated, it's only when you were born and given a new identity that separation happened. Let your vibrational relationship escrow percolate and give it your undivided attention so that you become a vibrational match to it. And then, when the law of attraction brings all of it together, there are not any bugs to work out. Do not ask the person who helped you to define what you want, to become what you want, so that you can have what you want. That is so freaking deep. And again, it goes back to self-inquiry and who are you? See, this body that is physical, that has had all these experiences, egoic experiences, it has needs and wants. In order for it to feel satisfied, it has conditions. You have to please me at this level. You have to measure up to this. You have to look like this. You have to do this. And you have to be able to give me this in order for me to be attracted to you. But see, we existed before that lower, limited understanding of ourselves and conditions. We existed with unconditional love, where there was no separation. There was no highs to meet. There was no lows to not meet. There was no this, that, and the other. All was one. And all was loved, without exception. Do not ask the person who helped you to define what you want, to become what you want, so that you can have what you want. Instead, use your willpower to focus upon what you want, and then the universe will bring you what you want. What do you want? What is the highest aspiration that you can dream of? Mine was knowing myself, knowing my true self. Before I became Valerie in this lifetime, who am I? What am I? What was I? What am I still? I am that I am. I am that existence that had no beginning before, nor an ending. Grasping that, attracting that wisdom, now I have to process it. And I have to keep separating that ego that wants to say, okay, that looks like this, and you have to have this, you can't have none of that, and ego, I existed before you. You do not get to tell me what this, because you don't know. So you have to keep shutting that ego down. And you have to keep allowing yourself to be open to no limitations, no beginning and no ending. And then the universe will bring you what you want. And it'll bring you what you want because you'll be one with it. Okay, that was that card. Again, that was 59, which is 14, which is also a 5, which is also the number of humanity. And in the spotlight of guilt and understanding guilt as an emotion, not asking others to be different from you. That means you can't repress your guilt. You can't project your guilt and not expect others not to project theirs. You cannot, you have to be very conscious of what you're attracting. And again, beloveds, we're focusing on guilt here. Guilt is an emotion, guilt is a feeling. And again, what you put out comes back to you. If you do something out of guilt, something is going to happen to intensify or amplify or magnify or bring that guilt back to you. Okay, let's move forward. The next card is number 23, which is also a 5. My manifestations are indications of my beliefs. And again, we're speaking of guilt. My manifestations are indicators of my guilt, of my beliefs. So, what are your beliefs about guilt? Because whatever you're manifesting in your life, individually and all of us as a collective right now, is what we believe about guilt. Some of us believe that this guilt needs to be dealt with right now. Others believe, no, we're going to keep hiding it and keep denying it and keep making victims out of the victim and keep saying this is how it should be and we're the ones that are right. And if you're feeling that, then you need to go deal with your feelings because I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty for my ancestors enslaving your ancestors. I don't feel guilty for taking over America. I don't feel guilty for being colonizing the world and bringing about this civilization from what it used to be. I don't feel sorry. I don't feel guilt for genocide. I don't feel guilt for the wars. I don't feel guilt for paying the taxes that bought the weapons for the wars. I'm not involved in that. The government did that. I ain't had nothing to do with that. We are all accountable. All in our ways. Even in man's law, you can be guilty by association. Understand what we're being given spiritually to dissect, to digest, to understand about ourselves, about our condition of being a spiritual sovereign being inside a human being, functioning as one, even though it feels dualistic. Functioning as one species, even though it feels like we are races and colors and genders and this and this and that. We are existence. And that is the upgrade to our lower consciousness. And we have got to get aligned and in tune with that. And we've got to understand that no, it's not going to take place overnight. It's going to happen with baby steps. And there are those that are going to fight it. But they are going to die off along the way. Because this has been prophesied. This is it. It has already been written. We are in the acts of giving birth to it. but it has already been scripted within us in our DNA. And it's being actualized by the alignment of the planets and the elements and everything else that is consciously coming into our awakening awareness. Universal awareness. Okay. My manifestations are the indicators of my beliefs. It is always true that whatever you are living always matches your chronic vibrational patterns or beliefs. And it does not matter if you have an excellent excuse for your negative thoughts and negative emotions, they still equal your point of attraction. What is manifesting on every subject in your life is an indicator of the beliefs you hold and your chronic patterns of thought. Wow. Guilt, beloveds. Not wanting to feel guilty because of the shame, because of the pain, because you have to look at yourself and see what you did, whether intentionally or unintentionally, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether genetically with your hands or the hands of your ancestors. And if it wasn't your ancestors, it was still your species. And your entire species is evolving and ascending and raising its vibration. And this is happening amongst the 7 billion of us that are on the planet right now. Not everybody is going to be at the same frequency. It is not designed to be that way. Allow the awakening, allow the growth. Just like it takes you 9 months to develop in the womb before you're ready to be born. If you come out too soon, you have problems. If you stay in there too long, you have problems. For everything, there's a season. And that season has been designed and put in place by a universal intelligence that is beyond our scope at this time of defining and putting into words. But the frequency is of such that we can identify with it. And when we are quiet enough within ourselves, we receive revelations. That oneness takes place where we, this goes there and that goes like that, and this should sound like this and that. We're able to do that. And the more and more we address certain emotional conditions and conditioning that we receive through our egoic programming and conditioning and growing up in this physical body and identifying with it, the more that we can understand what it feels and on the hormonal, biological, even the solar and lunar effects, the more we begin to understand, the more we can integrate the wisdom of nature and being authentically natural, being naked. Okay? And so that was that card. I'm going to turn this light back on. Okay. This card is number 43, which is a 7. So we had 2 5s and a 7. That's 17, which is also an 8. And this, again, is 43. Why do I want the relationship I want? Wow. Guilt. Why do I want the relationship I want? Look at that card. That is so deep. That is so profoundly deep. Think about what you want in a relationship and why you want it. Look for those around you who are experiencing good relationships and feel appreciation for them. Make lists of the positive aspects of those good feeling relationships you have spent time with. In fact, one of the fastest ways to make your way to a wonderful relationship is to find any subject that consistently feels good. And even if it has nothing to do with relationships, focus on that. If you could take guilt out of every single relationship that you can create, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it be? What would it be to behold? If you could take guilt out of the parent-child relationship, out of the mother-child relationship, do you know a mother goes through guilt when she has to stop breastfeeding her child after that child reaches a certain age? There's even an unconscious, subconscious guilt because you're tired of doing it and you're ready for that child to move on. But there's a part of you that says, you're the mama. How you gonna not want to feed your child? Parents that ready for their children to get out the house and move on. Get a life. You're their parents. There is guilt there associated with that. What about the father don't want his daughter dating? Knowing that's what she gonna have to do. Okay? But you don't want her to get out of the relationship with you. Because that's your baby girl. And the same thing with the mama. That's her baby boy. She got problems with whatever woman he gonna date. There's so much guilt that we put on our children, that we ingrain them with, that we burden them with, that we teach them how to carry. What about romantic relationships? What would it look like if we didn't guilt each other? Guilt takes such a big portion. Guilt is demanding. And guilt not only wants itself, okay, guilt has the frequency, not only guilt, but guilt is going to attract the frequency of shame. Guilt is going to attract the frequency of blame. Guilt is going to attract the frequency of more depression. Guilt is going to have you miserable. And we all know, what's that saying? Misery loves company. So you got one frequency. Understand that frequency is going to have a party for similar frequencies. Guilt is going to cause shame. Guilt is going to say, hey, girl, we got a party going on over here. Come on. You know we need you. We need you up in this piece. Guilt is here. I'm here. Now we need some shame and we need some blame. And we need, call your other friends with you. These are the frequencies of emotions. These are spirits. That's why when you drink, or when you are ingesting plant forms, or when you are doing some altered states kinds of things, you are dealing with spiritual frequencies. And these frequencies will multiply based upon their own harmonic essence. If it's misery, it's going to attract more misery. If it's sadness, it's going to expand your sadness. But you have to know that these are emotions and these are feelings. And you, who you are, what you are, existed before humanity, before a body was materialized for you to feel and think these kinds of feeling thoughts that release hormones and biochemical things going on. You existed on a level, on a plane that did not require those kinds of functions. And what is required of you now is for you to re-identify, reconnect, relearn, refabricate, reweave that which incarnated, that which existed before incarnation. There we go. What do I want? Why do I want the relationship I want? Because it's a very similar frequency. And before, it's a similar frequency to the identifying factors that you identify with your own personality, with your own personal identity. You're looking for something to complete, complement your persona, your biological functions, your biological thoughts and desires. Because that's the only way you know how to relate. You rely upon those frequencies. Because you've either turned off your instinctual, your original, or you've forgotten them. And you're asleep to them. You're unconscious to them. And now it's about reawakening, beloveds. It's about reconnecting. It's about stepping into your higher power. And in order to step into your higher power, you have to let go of the guilt of being human and feeling the things that a human being feels, and of doing the things that a human being does. And in getting control, in gaining control, once again, you are able to limit that ego functioning. You are able to eliminate the things that you have felt guilty for. And I said in the other video that guilt was a compulsion. Guilt will no longer drive you to do the things that will make you feel guilty, to feed that feeling of guilt. So everything is about rising above. Let me turn this light on again, and I'm going to move forward. The next card, beloveds, is taken from the Romance Angels Oracles by Doreen Virtue. And there were 2 cards pulled. The first card was codependency. Addictions are affecting your romantic life. And remember, again, we are focusing on guilt. So codependency and guilt. Codependency and the addiction of feeling, the addiction of the frequencies that are tied to guilt. See, if you allow guilt to feed you, to be your food, it's going to have a certain consistency. It's going to have a certain frequency. It's going to have a certain hormonal thing that it gives you. It sustains you. It satisfies you. And we have a codependency with guilt. Okay, let me get to this. Addictions are affecting your romantic life. There is a coldness there, baby. But there is a I belong here at the same time. Look at those roses on that table. And look at the lion shield down here. So there, and that's a griffin. That's not even a lion, okay? There is some metaphysical stuff in this card, baby, that will speak to you. All you got to do is keep looking and understand the word codependency. Codependency. Even if it's just on this mood right here. You could be hooked on a feeling. Let's see what Doreen Virtue says about this card. This card answers your question in perhaps a surprising way, because addictions are the culprit behind the issues you're attempting to resolve. This could be your own craving for a substance or unhealthful behavior, or it could be that your partner's addictions are impacting your love life. The card is also an indicator of childhood experiences in an addictive family. How did guilt play out in your family? How does guilt play out in every relationship that you begin, start, seek? How does it play out? What does it look like? What's the pattern? How does it feel? How does it make you feel? How do you make someone else feel guilty? When someone makes you feel guilty, what does it feel like? Is it familiar? When you make someone else feel guilty, does it satisfy something in you? Codependency. Addictions numb the heart to pain, but they also diminish its capacity to love. Do you hear that? You cannot love unconditionally and still be dishing out guilt, or still stirring the guilt pot, or you need somebody else to feel guilty of something, or you yourself are so guilty of things that you allow them to do whatever they want because you're guilty for something else. And you're holding yourself guilty. And if they're doing this, well, you deserve it. There are so many ways, veins, nerves, receptors for the frequency of guilt. Beloveds, untangle yourself from those cords because they strangle your ability to love, to give it and to receive it in whatever situation, not just romantic situations. This is especially true if you are twisting yourself in knots to please a person whose dependency has lessened his or her capacity for happiness. Their dependency on whatever it is, whether it's a substance, whether it's your happiness, whether it's your misery, and you twisting yourself in knots to please them. When this person, this being, is unable to love unconditionally because they can't love themselves unconditionally, and you're willing, because of childhood trauma or, like I said, your own sense of guilt, even from other lifetimes, the no-win situation will negatively affect your self-esteem and your own happiness if you continue. Misery loves company. Guilt is going to call all her friends. She's going to call misery. She's going to call shame. She's going to call all her little friends, and they're going to party. And we call it a pity party. But we have agreed to it. We feed it. We allow it. We magnify it out of a sense of guilt. This is how you process your guilt. Guilt is grief. Guilt is suffering. Guilt is depression. Fortunately, lots of support is available worldwide in the form of 12-step meetings and other addiction support fellowship models. Whether it is you or your romantic partner who has the addiction, you can find free groups near you through internet searches or by contacting a local community health center. This is speaking of Narcotics Anonymous, any kind of addiction anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. There are also many, many, many suicide lines, many therapeutic sessions now that can be had online, beloveds. And if you don't feel like connecting with another being, connect with the information. The energy is in the information. And you'll be surprised at what it triggers in you and what it can heal in you, if this is what you're truly seeking for. Okay, that was that card. That card was codependency. The next card is reconciliation. Someone from your past is returning to your life. And again, we're dealing with guilt, beloved. Let's see what we have here. Reconciliation. It's on page 69, which is a 15, which is also a 6. Reconciliation. Someone from your past is returning to your life. This card indicates that an ex-lover may be re-entering your life. The first person you think of is likely who it will be. The purpose of this reconciliation is to achieve Healing and closure with respect to your past. Now, beloveds, once again, this is not a regular card reading. We are dealing with the subject of guilt right now. So when it says the person is coming, this could be the first person that made you feel guilty. It could be your first encounter with guilt. Okay? With what made you ashamed, what made you feel guilty, what made you feel you did wrong morally against the universe, not just against your physical or mental training or conditioning. This is something that existed in you before you incarnated. Okay? You will understand more about yourself and see your relationship patterns more clearly. You'll also take responsibility for the role you played in the relationship's drama, which will free you from the tyranny of unforgiveness. And again, beloveds, guilt and forgiveness. If you want to know how to get out of guilt, learn to forgive. To separate yourself from the frequency of guilt, you have to use the frequency of forgiveness. The frequency of forgiveness can battle equally, can negate the frequency of guilt, can shut it up. Because once you've forgiven something, there's nothing to feel guilty about it anymore. Even if that is yourself. And it should always begin with you, beloved. Okay. Reconciliations are ultimately about taking care of unfinished business. This card could also possibly mean making peace with a family member or friend. Each relationship is a sacred learning experience. So be open to this reunion's lessons and blessings. Ultimately, all healings help your love life and every other part of your world. Learn to heal your guilt. Learn to deal with your guilt. Learn to identify it, claim it, and lay it bare with forgiveness and with unconditional love, understanding that you were not in the conscious awareness that you are able of holding right now. And then maybe you needed to go through whatever experience that was in order to carry that guilt, in order to know how to put it down. So forgive yourself. Let go of thinking that you are so morally reprehensible that you are irredeemable. That what you did is just so bad. Beloveds, the fact that you can sit with yourself and say that was bad puts you above the lowest of the low, who are the psychopaths who do not see nothing wrong with anything that they do. These are the ones who are irredeemable. You are not amongst them. Bring yourself up. Quit identifying with something that you're not. You're putting that on you. Take it off. Okay, that was from that deck. Let's move forward. I pulled one card from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle Guidebook, and this is called The Complete Spiritual Toolkit for Transforming Your Life by Tori Hartman. And the card pulled that came forward was Enlightenment. Enlightenment. And that's such a beautiful card. There are 5 rays, and he is the 6th ray. I don't know why I needed to say that, but that's what I got. The 5 rays are coming from the sun, and he being the 6th ray that materialized there. Let's see what the card says. Enlightenment. It's also on page 34, which is a 7. Topaz. Enlightenment. If I seek peace, I must embrace my fears. And again, beloveds, this is wisdom for the emotion and the feeling of guilt. The legend Topaz is a renowned spiritual teacher. People travel to hear his wisdom. He is journeying up a mountain to seek private counsel with the great servant. When a young boy stops him, the boy asks, "If enlightenment is to be found in my own mind, how do I get there?" The moment before he disappears into the mist, Topaz replies, "Through your fears." Woo! Baby, baby, that's deep. That is deep. That is deep. That is deep. That is deep. If enlightenment is to be found in my own mind, how do I get there? We're dealing with guilt. So, you have to go through guilt. You have to go through guilt. You have to face guilt. You have to accept guilt. You have to know guilt. You have to own guilt. You have to conquer guilt. Inspiration. At this time, your journey is more important than your destination. Remember, if you face your fear, you will grow stronger. Relief awaits. Personal inquiry. My thoughts always drive my choices. How can I see my thoughts to heal myself? Wow. How can I use my thoughts of guilt to heal myself? The answer is within the question, physician, heal thyself. My thought always drives my choices. So, if guilt is driving your choices, your thoughts of guilt are driving your choices. Look at the choices. Look at the guilt that is driving them. Key ideas, path to enlightenment, the reluctant sage, taking time alone to connect, trusting your intuition, needing solitude, time for reflection. When you're dealing with guilt, beloveds, you are the reluctant sage. And the reluctance comes and no one wants to own their guilt. No one wants to face their guilt. No one wants to face the myriads of frequencies, emotions, connections that come and that are associated with guilt. The feeling of guilt. Guilt doesn't just come by itself. Guilt has a crew. Guilt has an entourage. Shame, blame, hate, fear, blah, 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 on and on and on. And so when you're confronting guilt, you're confronting all of that. Ground yourself and know that you existed before an emotion did, before a frequency did, before a thought did. You are God. You are the sovereign authority of all. You can bring balance with just that knowing. And it's going to take time. And you're going to backslide back into your ego personality, back into the I can't, back into the I'm tired. But just get back up out of it. Just like it's going to pull you down, stay down there for a minute and say, okay, that's long enough, and get back up. And if you know that you have problems staying down there and not getting back up, tell so-and-so and so, baby, if you don't hear from me by a certain time, check in on me. Or come see about me. Or say a prayer for me, because I'm about to go through some stuff. And I feel like I'm going through it by myself. But I know I'm not, and I'm going to need you to remind me that I'm not by myself. Be there for each other. Be there for yourself. Be there for that self. Have that self that has no beginning and no end. Be there for that self that was born and incarnated this time. This body. Guide and protect this body. Know that that's you. Keywords: support, courage, confidence. Meditation: write down 3 fears, then close your eyes. Imagine these fears staying with you always. Then imagine them one by one, walking in faith alongside you. Stride through the garden of fear and allow them to stay behind. What is more painful, keeping your fears or releasing them? The choice is yours. That's powerful. Now it's that card. Let's move forward to the Archangel Raphael Healing Oracle cards. And again, this is a deck by Doreen Virtue. And the card that was pulled is called Yes. That blew me away. And beloveds, there's something just so transformative about just the energy of this card, of this deck for me, because it's Raphael, it's healing. I connect with that energy synergistically, and the colors themselves just always wash and bathe me. I'm baptized in the frequency of them because they're very nurturing, just to my soul and to my spirit. The golds, the greens, the teals, the blues, the creams, the browns. I even love the back of it with the double caduceus. Yes. Dear Archangel Raphael, please help me trust my feelings as the accurate barometer of truth. Woo! And you see, Archangel, what is represented as Archangel Raphael, standing over that inner child in you that asks for that kind of protection, that asks for that kind of energy or frequency to be around it so that it can be accurate when it comes to truth. Trusting your feelings when it comes to truth. And this is what the card says. The card is on 98, which is 17, which is an 8. Yes. The answer to your question is yes. You probably already knew this, and Archangel Raphael wishes to validate your intuitive feelings. This card is a talisman to help you deal with current situations and prepare for the future. Sometimes the greatest gift you can receive is knowing what to expect next. Raphael reminds you that everything can change in more positive directions. So as we are dealing with the subject of guilt, understand that what is next is that guilt is going to be lessened, is going to be healed, is going to be regulated to what it is, a feeling, and a feeling of the past. And we're going to leave it into the past and stop bringing it into the future, which means we have to forgive. We have to forgive. And I know so many people are going to have so many problems with this word forgive. But what you do not realize, beloveds, is what the universal laws, before man's law is universal law. If universal law says what you put out comes back to you, then I want you to weigh forgiveness in that versus vengeance in that. If you are so intelligent and so spiritual and so politically correct and all of this and all of that, then you realize what I tell you. When spirit has put universal laws in place before you even incarnated one single time, you follow universal laws over man's laws, over your own egoic feelings. You put universal laws first and you cannot go wrong. Universal law says you attract and you magnify and you manifest that which you are most desirous of. So if you are most desirous of vengeance and violence and hurting somebody because of what they did to you, what are you going to attract? What are you going to keep manifesting? What are you going to keep passing on and forward? What are you going to keep feeding with your frequency? Negativity feeds negativity. You don't got the strength in you to forgive. You don't have the capability of understanding that we all had to crawl and shit on ourselves before we can walk. So if we walking around stinking, it's because we shitted on ourselves, because we didn't know no better. And those that know better do what? They hand you a washcloth and a towel and some water, stand you up and scrub that shit off of you, so you can have a new conscious awareness of yourself. And so when you encounter somebody full of shit, you can help them. Don't get to thinking your shit ain't never stanked, or that you ain't never shit on yourself, or you never will. Forgiveness begins with forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is not about someone else, what they did. We're all born into this world doing from an egoic lower level. It is time to understand that from a spiritual level, from a higher level. You're not going to get it as long as you're down there in the shit. All you're going to get is the shit. But when you stand yourself up and you clean yourself off and you start dropping baggage, guilt, shame, blame, hate, and you start understanding, this humanness is a conditioning that strips away what I was before I incarnated. And I got to take it back. I got to take it back now. I got to take back that I am not this shitty human being. I am what has no beginning and has no ending, what does not need to eat, what does not need to drink. I dwell within here. And don't get it twisted. Okay, let me keep going. Oh, let me keep going. This card is a talisman to help you deal with current situations and prepare for the future. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give, sometimes the greatest gift you can receive is knowing what to expect next. Raphael reminds you that everything can change in even more positive direction. So stay open to your intuitive wisdom, which will guide you along the way. Possible specific meanings. Things are going in a positive direction. You're on the right path. A recent change proves healthful. Accept an offer that was made to you. A new opportunity is imminent. Yes, your feelings are accurate. My prayer. Dear Archangel Raphael, please help me trust my feelings as the accurate barometer of truth. That is deep. Thank you, Raphael. And we are going to move forward. I am going to get me something to drink. Hold on just a second, beloveds. Okay, beloveds. Excuse me, I got cold. I got drunk. Some cold stuff, but let's keep it moving. The next card is from the Medicine Woman deck, and again, our focus is guilt. And the card that was pulled is Teaching Lodge of the Arrows. And beloveds, I want you to really, look at this card because it is very powerful. Very powerful. The letter A is on top. Okay, there are what I see as 6 poles holding up the A, and they appear to be roots to me. I see a inverted pyramid with the sun with many rays, and I see them standing inside a teepee with these poles, what I call roots, holding up this A. And there are a total of 4 materialized beings inside, each wearing a animal skin. One is wearing a fox skin, one is wearing a bull skin, one is wearing a deer skin, and the shaman is holding up her hands, and the colors are red, brown, purple, and green, and gold. There's a lot of gold in here. So hope you can see the A for the arrows. And I hope you see the 6 poles or roots that are holding up that A, that inverted yoni mound with the sun in the middle of it and the rays pouring down from it, and the 4 beings, the one standing in gold and the 3 with the skins or the hides over them. Okay, let's see what the Carol Bridges, the medicine woman inner guidebook, has to say about this particular card, and then I'll give what comes through, or I'll be stopping and speaking on what is coming through. Prayer. In the name of harmony and peace I live. I am the one who speaks. I have studied the great warriors, the peacemakers, those who freed slaves, those who stood their own ground. I am learning the themes of their lives and making them my own. I am learning from revolutionary women and evolutionary men the very qualities that gave them undying spirit. I am gathering to myself the knowledge that I too can draw on the great mind. In my life, I will correct an injustice. I will right a wrong. I will bring love where none has been known. I attune myself to the sound of truth, and I listen until I am known. That is so very profound and so very deep in the choice of words, in the tone, in the frequency, beloveds, because that is so speaking directly to the guilt that is going on, that is surfacing, that has risen, that has been born, and that has to be dealt with and nourished and contained and understood. We have to understand the voice of guilt that has arisen. We have to understand that we manifested, we fed it. It lives from our blood, from our desires and our thinking. And we have to understand that in order to deal with this guilt, this negative vibration, we have to go to the higher vibrations, to the peace givers, to those who are able to forgive, to the warriors, to those who freed the slaves, and those who stood their ground. You have to have this element if you're going to deal with guilt. If you're going to confront guilt, you need this kind of armor. You need these kind of frequencies. You need this kind of influence. You need to recognize those kind of patterns as the contrast to what guilt is going to show you. Revolutionary women and evolutionary men, the qualities that gave them undying spirit. I will correct an injustice. I too can draw from the great mind. I will right a wrong. I will bring love where none has been known. I attune myself to the sound of truth, and I listen until I am known. First, you have to attune yourself to the sound of truth until you become that truth. And then I listen until I am known. Until that truth is known, until that frequency is reverberating, until that frequency is greater than that of guilt. You keep going until the frequency you get back till guilt is so small. That's how you know you're the truth. When you see your truth get bigger than the lie. Lesson. It is time to put yourself in the company of great minds. Whether through books, films, or person to person, surround yourself with heroic presence. Read the words of those who mastered life. And beloveds, as I was reading that, something within me surfaced to say, put distance, put space between those who feed guilt, who are surrounded by guilt, who project guilt unto others, who judge others with guilt. If it is not from the stance that all of us are growing, if it needs to point fingers, then it is not healthy. It is speaking from something that was incarnated. Because what you are, the highest part of you, don't have no fingers. So it don't need to point to nothing. Because it's everything and nothing at the same time. And it's not jealous of itself, and it don't need to judge nothing. And that is what you are trying to tune into. Not somebody else's rhetoric of what they did, what they gonna do. If you are basing your ascension off of something that was born, off of something that has a beginning, and off of something that has an ending, and not something that has always existed, then you betting on the wrong horse, okay? You're betting on the wrong race. You're betting on the wrong species. You still covered in shit, and you hanging with shitty people. And I'm not saying that they can't change. Because they can be shitty one moment and have a divine revelation of who they are and go clean the shit right off of themselves and forgive themselves. And in forgiving themselves, they forgive everything else. They heal everything else. It begins with self. But if you think you're too big to hold guilt, life will teach you, baby. It's time to put yourself in the company of great minds, whether through books, films, or person to person. Surround yourself with heroic presence. Read the words of those who mastered life. Listen to music that fills you with positive visions. Let poetry enter you and inspire you. Delete from your reality the sounds and images that bring you down, at least in your personal space. Surround yourself with visual, auditory, and sensory experiences that uplift. Create your own teaching lodge of the arrows. No bad news here. No television, no newspaper, no magazines that do not support your highest aspirations. It is time to create, at least in your own small space, a completely inspiring environment, then welcome God and Goddess. Beloveds, how beautiful is that? To take guilt out of the picture, to take guilt out of your essence, out of your thoughts, out of your processes, out of everything in your environment that supports guilt, that attracts guilt. Let it go. Beautiful card. The next card, beloveds, we are getting from the Messengers from Your Animal Guides, Stephen D. Farmer, and Puel came forward, and this is the Hawaiian owl. And beloveds, Hawaii has been coming up so much for me lately as ancestral memories, meditations, frequencies, moments, mysteries, masteries, my stories, that it is just blowing my mind lately how much Hawaii is coming up for me. And this is the owl, Hawaiian owl. So once again, for me, this is Hawaiian wisdom to deal with the frequency of guilt. And they have I can't, Hapono Ono or something like that. I can't say it right. But I asked you to look it up, and I'll look for it and I'll put it on my Facebook page. But it is a way of being. It is a way of knowing. It is a spiritual frequency energy that guides and directs from an inward ancient philosophy based upon the Hawaiian culture frequency. So this is the owl. Your ancestor spirit guides are offering you guidance now. So pay close attention to signs and omens from them. Another thing that comes up a lot with me when I am directed this way is the Pleiades star system. And I'll just leave that there and I'll read what's here. Pu'eo, Hawaiian owl. Your ancestral spirit guides are offering you guidance now, so pay close attention to signs and omens from them. You can receive guidance from your ancestors in the spirit world. No matter what their age, when they died, or how many generations ago they walked on the earth, they're offering you help in many ways right now. So pay close attention to the signs they give you. This guidance can come to you in many forms, whether through your eyes, ears, feelings, or thoughts. Sometimes your ancestral spirit guides appear in dreams, particularly vivid ones. You might see someone who looks like one of your ancestors, or unexpectedly come across photos or memorabilia that remind you of this person. Often a particular animal making an appearance before you is a way in which your ancestral guide is trying to reach you. You might hear something that makes you think of a specific ancestor or simply feel their presence. And thoughts about a certain ancestor, especially unexpected and reoccurring thoughts, suggest that they're nearby. Beloveds, in dealing with guilt and the American soil and the energies that have taken place under the confines of civilization and colonialization and imperialization, the genocides, the slavery, the murdering, the raping, the pillaging, the diminishing, the humanizing, the debasing, that is taking place is spiritually calling out. And the land is speaking. And it's speaking into the vibration of guilt. And many are hearing it. Many are seeing it. Many are answering it. Many are surging forward to bring justice to the injustice. Not just one. Not just to one specific race. But America, as we know it, these states, this land, this longitude and latitude on the earth at this particular time and moment is carrying the heaviest frequency of guilt. And it is worldwide. And it is being noticed. And it is being witnessed. And it must be dealt with swiftly and justly. And this is from the condor and the eagles. Our wisdom. Hawaiian wisdom. There's a lot coming from Hawaii, beloveds. Hawaii is very spiritual, very, 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 very spiritual place. From what I'm getting, Hawaii would be the spiritual heart of America. The heartland. And healing needs to happen. And peace and restoration needs to happen on behalf of Hawaii, as far as it retaining its own jurisdiction even. It can still be part of the United States, but it needs to be recognized as an eye, as a center. It needs to have more of a direct spiritual, hold that place for the American intentions going forward. That needs to come from Hawaii. Often a particular animal making an appearance before you is a way in which your ancestral guides is trying to reach you. You might hear something that makes you think of a specific ancestor, or simply feel their presence and thoughts about a certain ancestor. Especially unexpected or reoccurring thoughts suggest that they're nearby. Repetition is key here. In whatever ways your ancestors attempt to contact you, when signs continue to show up that make you think of your deceased loved ones, know that these physical manifestations demonstrate that they're with you. You may have known some of these ancestors in the physical world. And beloveds, I don't know why. What I'm getting is that Hawaii was the royalty in the Americans. You know how everybody else has their royal family and where they lived and la 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 la. Hawaii was where the royalty of the United States, where this longitude and latitude, where this mass of land is regulated, is royal from Hawaii. You may have known some of these ancestors in the physical world prior to their deaths, or they may be ancestors from long ago, several generations before your birth, surpassing the boundaries of conscious memory. Regardless of who they are, always give thanks to your ancestral spirit guides and even appeal to these benevolent helpers whenever guidance is needed. Associations, dignity, omens, guidance, protection, wisdom, knowledge, inspiration, mysteriousness, silence, sacredness, diversity, Omakua, Omakua, Aumakua, Omakua, ancestors showing up as a spirit animal. All right. Just have a few more, beloveds. And let's see. Life purpose. This is the Oracle Life Purpose Oracle cards. And again, this is a deck by Doreen Virtue. And options. Consider the career possibilities that are open to you. Okay, let's see what she says. 65, which is an 11. Options. Consider the career possibilities that are open to you. You have more options than you may realize, which is why this card comes to you today. And remember, beloveds, we're focusing on guilt. While you may feel limited in your career choices, the angels remind you that the possibilities are unlimited. They promise that the time, money, knowledge, opportunity, and other factors that you need are very much open to you. Beloveds, and what I'm getting right now is that as we learn more and more about guilt and how to manage it, how to detect it, how to root it out, how to heal it, how to focus the spotlight on it, we'll be doing this in many different ways. And the more ways that we find to do this, the more ways that it will help humanity. And for all healers, I ask that you incorporate a system of healing guilt into your practice, is what I'm being guided. So, as far as options, this card is a sign urging you to think outside the box and be open-minded with respect to your options. For example, can you return to school and learn new skills related to your dream career? Can you begin a self-employment venture on a part-time basis while your regular job pays the bills? Or could you find a mentor to train you while you work as an intern or volunteer? The range of possibilities is wide and varied if you will just be open to them. Take a moment right now and say to your angels, please give me clear signs and guidance about my options related to my divine life mission and a career that makes my heart sing with joy. Then notice intuitive feelings and ideas, as well as repetitive physical signs, which are messages from above. And that is that. That is that card, beloveds. The last card is from the last two cards is from the Isis deck. Scales of Balance, Ancient Tantra of the Soul. And again, beloveds, we are talking about and focusing on guilt. I hope you can see that. I hope it's not too dark in here. Again, we have scales. We just had scales in the option card. Alrighty. Let's see. This is on page 147, which is 12, which is 3. Okay. Scales of balance. Ancient Tantra of the soul. You are a Tantrika, an initiate on the path of divine healing of the masculine and feminine, the two sacred polarities that are universal to human experience. As these energies come into mutual respect and balance, you attain great power, presence, and healing effect in the world of the soul and in the human world of forms here on this earth. You are supported in further exploring this path now under the auspices and blessings of beloved Isis. You are in the process of sacred relationship, healing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies within your own soul. Aho. This is the advanced spiritual path of Tantra. It is the connection of the body and soul. And beloveds, I want to make a statement. Understand that the guilt that must exist between your divine feminine and your divine masculine energies, and that this guilt has affected every relationship that you have been into, that you have observed, that you have witnessed, that you have even influenced. And beloveds, understand that how that guilt has to play and how it's mirrored and how it's projected outward with your female and your male friends, family members, partners, co-workers, all of it. Please understand this interplay of frequency and energy when it comes to dealing with guilt from a tantric perspective. Okay. Balanced perspective. Okay. The body becomes you are the process of sacred relationship healing of the divine masculine and divine feminine energies within your own soul. This is the advanced spiritual path of Tantra. It is the connection of the body and soul. The effect of this inner divine relationship healing is genuine enlightenment of the mind and the body becoming a living sacred temple of light, energy, and wild aliveness. This embodiment can be experienced in movement, in deep stillness, and in vitality and in quietness. You are a Tantrika, a sacred priestess of the Tantric arts. Some people mistakenly believe that Tantra is simply about sexuality, but it is, in truth, the journey of the soul to bring masculine and feminine polarities into wholeness, love, unity, and empowerment, to learn to be the enlightened path in every element of your being. This is soul-building work that is in great service to the spiritual healing and evolution of humanity, which is in deep need of those such as yourself who can help create sacred connection between mind and body. It might be through your own personal healing of your body-mind connection, and perhaps through your healing services for others that you walk a tantric path. It may be done in a private way or in an obvious way. What matters is that it feels right for you. Walking this path authentically is a choice to live in dedication to the sacred work of Isis, who taught us about the creative power that could come of healing the relationship between masculine and feminine consciousness. You are guided to accept this healing through learning to balance the masculine and feminine energies within yourself and your relationships with others. Balancing, give and take, directing and flowing, play and solitude are ways to do this now. Learning to feel as comfortable as possible with your sexual and spiritual nature, seeing how they can complement rather than compete with each other is helpful too. Connection with the body is the most powerful form of healing for the feminine energy, as it holds the secrets to divine feminine wisdom. This can occur through movement, dance, and yoga that is based on body awareness and presence rather than necessarily involving fast flowing postures that may take you more into your head than your body. You can come more into your body through time in nature, swimming, lying in the sun, resting, or walking, provided that you stay present to the physical sensations that you experience. This oracle also comes as a guide for your path of inner healing and service. You are encouraged to explore divine masculine and feminine healing within yourself, specifically at this time. This may involve forgiveness of past relationships with significant males or females in your life. It may also require an adjustment of softening to allow in feminine wisdom, or cutting out some distractions or draining situations or relationships that minimize your sense of your own power and capacity to use masculine wisdom as well. Whew, that's very powerful. And I am very grateful for that information. Forgive me for one more. Now I'm getting hot. Okay. Okay. I'll just do it like this. Okay. Excuse me, beloveds. Excuse me. Okay. If you also drew the Oracle of Healing the Divine Masculine, then you are actively encouraged to explore Tantra as a personal healing journey this lifetime. There are many different teachers and approaches under the heading of Tantra these days. Use your discernment and trust what feels right for you. You are also guided, if in healing work with others, that you can help others heal through exploring the interplay of masculine and feminine energies. It might be through connection of mind and body, through inner and outer worlds, through sexuality and spirituality, joining for healing. Enjoy the unfolding journey, beloved initiate, for it will be highly creative and could involve art, movements as dance, yoga, breathwork, and much more. And much more. Okay, mama. I am going to read the ritual. Ritual of Ancient Soul Tantra. You will need a soft blanket or covering and a comfortable place to lie down and not be disturbed. You may like to light a candle or have soft lighting. Lay down in a comfortable position, preferably on your back with one hand resting on your pubic bone, below your belly, and one hand resting near your heart. Focusing on the breath, imagine that you can breathe all the way down to the belly, feeling it rise and fall with the breath. Imagine thoughts falling away, and all you notice is the breath. If you start thinking, it is a trigger to go back to the breath. and the rise and fall of the belly and chest under your hands. Allow the energy in the belly to grow like a bright sun, growing with the breath, neither too warm nor too cold, just growing comfortably, fed by the breath. Allow the energy to grow until it flows all the way down your legs. You may feel sexual energy stirring as you focus the breath, and if so, just stay relaxed and focus on your hand resting on your belly and the energy growing and spreading through your body in a pleasant, comfortable way. As your awareness goes deeper within, imagine that you can become aware of the heart chakra. Become aware of this center in your chest, being nourished with the energy that is growing deep in the belly. Imagine the energy rising from the belly and warming the heart, and love from the heart responding and traveling down into your belly. Keep the sensations comfortable and relaxed, allowing thoughts to drift away as you more deeply engage with your body. Allow yourself to take your awareness deeper into the space within your body. With peaceful respect and patient love, it will open to you. Starting with your awareness resting in your belly and then in your heart. Imagine as if a powerful inner light is flickered on, and your awareness grows, becoming sensitive to the light that is within your body. You may feel, see, or sense light, love, sexual or spiritual energy, or simply the sensation of being aware within your body. Whatever you feel is perfect for you at the time. Feel the love of your heart growing and the energy in the belly flowing. The more aware you are of your body, the more deeply you shall descend into tantric awakening of the body of light, that perfectly balanced masculine and feminine consciousness brought to life in an awakened body. It feels beautiful, peaceful, sublime, and very alive to be in such a state. Stay with this sacred communion process until you feel ready to re-emerge more whole and refreshed. Then, when you are ready, just open your eyes. Quietly, as you come out of your experience, say aloud, I love and approve of myself unconditionally. I call upon those beings who love me unconditionally and ask for healing, protection, and assistance, that any negativity or clearing that occurs from my work today be released with the least harm to myself and others. May I be blessed. Don't underestimate the power of this exercise. Though it is a simple practice, it is very strong. Be gentle with yourself in the days following as you integrate the healing. And beloveds, as I just read that, I am guided to say that we hold a lot of energies in our body. Some of that energy incarnated with us into this life from previous lifetimes. This particular ritual is designed to free your physical body space, your ethereal body space, your many different layers. I'll put it that way. Your many different layers of whatever is there, whatever has been lingering. Again, we're dealing with guilt, beloveds. We're focusing on guilt. So I want you to understand situations that have occurred in past lifetimes that have caused you guilt are also stored and have also manifested in this carnation along with you. When you are doing this ritual, be present enough to understand what you are releasing. Not only that you are releasing it away from you, but that in releasing it, once released, it is transmuted and transformed so that that frequency can no longer cause guilt. So that frequency no longer goes and finds other frequencies like it. This ritual is asking you to be very sensitive to the different and the many layered parts of your body, not just your physical body, but your feminine divine principles and your divine masculine principles. Because in many other lifetimes, they may not have had the same moral compass as you do now. And so what you are releasing can be much deeper than what you are consciously aware of. So be aware, beloved. Once again, we're dealing with guilt. So in this ritual, you are releasing guilt. And I'm being told that you need to be aware of name what you are releasing from your essence, from your being, from your layers, from your sexuality, from your sensuality, from your essence. You are releasing guilt from your divine masculine and from your divine feminine so that they, inside of you, the union can be without guilt. Okay. This is the incantation of the scales of balance. You can say this incantation at the beginning of the ritual above or at any time you feel out of balance. You may know this is the case if you are drained, feel pulled in too many directions, and with too many demands and not much productivity, or if you are just feeling not quite right within yourself. So you say this incantation at the beginning, beloveds, or any other time that you feel out of balance during this ritual, or even without this ritual, I'll say. The scales are balanced with perfection, feminine and masculine in divine connection. Surrender and strength, body and soul, together are loved, united and whole. I know when to act and when to rest. Scales of balance allow harmony to vest. Deep within, I am now at peace. As imbalance, I effortlessly now release. I feel balance, wholeness, and vitality as I balance and heal my divine humanity. And that was that card, beloveds. And we'll move on to the last card, beloveds. And this has been a very powerful all-day journey for myself. And it has been very intriguing on many different levels, especially as I get to the end of it. There's so much that is happening. This card is Spirit of Isis, Triumph of the Goddess. And you see the vulture, the mu'at, the bird, mama bird, that which clears away. And you see the crook, that which guides and snatches back and holds. And you see the flare. And this is Isis. You see the horns. And you see the Eurysis. Okay. Spirit of Isis, Triumph of the Goddess. Let's see what she has to say. Excuse me for all this fidgeting. The energies are just something else. The page number is 161, which is an 8, which is the mama's number. Okay. Triumph of the Goddess, beloved initiate. There are times to surrender and let go, but there are never times to give up. Persist with your bold faith and inspired action until the impossible happens. Isis has the spirit of triumph and will never fail in her quest, no matter how bold or impossible it seems. Believe. It is helpful on the inner path to let go and detach over and over again. And yet, we need to stay true to our heart and not give up on what we feel we are here to do. Whether it is in reaching for enlightenment, for inner peace, for a creative breakthrough, or personal healing, the triumph of the goddess is with you now, urging you not to give up. No matter how far away or impossible success may seem to be, don't quit. Persist until the impossible happens. And beloveds, we are talking about the eradication and the healing of guilt right now. So this is very profound for many reasons. The power of genuine inner will, not force or determination, but that inner power that fuels us to continue with our inner practices, to do what we need to do in the physical world, to bring ourselves to light and life, and is growing within you now. It is supported by living the right quest for you, seeking to climb the mountain that lies within your own heart, our own heart, not that chosen for us by another, but the journey that genuinely lies within us. Feminine strength, while endless determination is fueled by loving devotion, nothing less than love would be powerful enough to keep you on your path long after you had tired of criticism or become even too fatigued to respond to fear anymore. Allow your heart to fuel the fire in your belly and let the divine love that is yours, that is your being, give you the energy and passion that you need to pursue your destiny and realize that it is pursuing you too. This oracle comes at a time when you need to know that you will succeed. It is a reminder that you can surrender, let go of attachment as to how it will happen or what it will look like, even if it is frustrating, surrendering the vision into the divine fires yet again, waiting until you feel it naturally coming together according to divine timing. Beloveds, that is so profound. I really want you to think of the potter's wheel and how a glassman blows his glass and how the slightest thing can happen and it is misshaped and it has to be scrapped and you have to start all over again. I want you to understand that is part of the process. And I want you not to attach guilt to how many times you have had to start over, how many times you have had to gather materials together again, how many trips it took you, how tired you got, how many times you quit and started back again. I want you to understand all of that is part of the process. And you need to let go of the guilt. And that is the whole purpose of this video right now, as with understanding the human guilt that is associated with our existence so far as we know it at this time. We have to rise above it. We have to rise above the memories, the limited memories of the failings, of the darkness, of the death. And we have to remember that it is part of the process to get to the light, to get to the rebirthing, to get to the next, to get to the expansion. You cannot expand if you never grow. If you never become aware of the shit, you will never have the contrast of knowing what is not shit. The worth of not being around shit or full of shit. You have to go through the process. Every one of us is a collective. Every one of us are being processed, being reborn. And none of us are on the same identical rate, mark, frequency, expansion, portal, time, period, color, height, weight, sound. None of it. None of it can be measured and compared because we are that diverse. We are created that diverse. But each of us carries the burden of guilt. And that burden differs in its size and weight and whatever. But to ascend past this point is to recognize it, realize it, give it its due value, and heal it. Heal it. Love it. Thank it. You thank you, piece of shit, you. Thank you. Because now I know that there's something better. And like Mama Maya Angelou said, you can't do better until you know better. But once you know better, that's when you start doing better. So forgive yourself for not knowing that you were shitting on other people, or that you were shitty, or that you even knew you were shitting on people and still did it. Let it go. And understand the magnitude in what we do it. We want to sit here and think it's just black and white. But there's white on white crime. There's black on black crime. Ask white women about their white husbands to come and beat them. Ask black women black husbands, black men, black wives come and beat them. Or their own children turn around and beat them. This is not about a color. We are humanity. We are human beings. We are spirits incarnated. And we have to go back to understanding and knowing that spirit. The oneness, the beautifulness, the depth, the vastness that it is to be in that spirit and be comfortable there with no guilt. No guilt that I'm a sinner and I did this and I deserve to be punished and all of these thoughts are going to make this happen and that happen and this is going to happen and it's just going to keep spiraling and keep spiraling. Come out of it. Come out of it. See it as a plane that is crashing. Pull up. Ascend. Stop descending. This oracle comes at a time when you need to know that you will succeed. It is a reminder that you can surrender, let go of attachment as to how it will happen or what it will look like. Even if it is frustrating, surrendering the vision into the divine fires yet again. Waiting until you feel it naturally coming together according to divine timing. Did you hear that? Waiting until you feel it naturally coming together according to divine timing. Beloveds, that means you look for the signs and the symbols. You are vigilant. You are in the flow of the energy and you are in that force and you can tell when it turns and when it moves and when it stops and when it increases. Because you are part of it. You are not separate from it. And you are waiting in it, not outside of it, something to happen. You're waiting for the divine timing, for the alignment of the planets, for the flow and the flux of the tides, for the women to get in line and be sisters and cosmic midwives again, for that divine feminine essence to go into labor. And the women will gather, I guarantee you. The spirit of Isis is willing to wait until divine forces collide and the miracle occurs. If you have drawn this card along with the miracle of Isis, then there will be a miraculous and surprising element to how your triumph occurs. An unexpected twist working in your favor. Remember, beloved initiate, the forces of growth, love, and divinity are in your corner. There is nothing more powerful than these. Allow them to have their way, and you will have yours. Your win is assured. Ritual of the spirit of Isis. Rest quietly in a space where you will not be disturbed, and close your eyes. Sit with your spine relatively straight and your back supported, and enough room so that you can easily open your arms wide later on in your ritual. Imagine that before you, just beyond the easy reach of your arm, if you were to hold it out in front of you, is your most cherished dream. It might be a vision, a word, a feeling. It might be a relationship or a vocation. It might be God. It might be the goddess. It might be wealth, health, passion, or the unfoldment of a mystery. You might not even be able to sense or imagine it clearly, beyond it being something that invokes deepest heartfelt desire within you. Visualize this cherished dream as a color, shape, or image, and then say the following: My desire brings all things to fruition, and I detach completely from how this desire will best manifest. Instead, I adopt the spirit of Isis and choose now to declare this truth: My miracle shall manifest. All things are made possible through love. I open my heart now to receive this blessed miracle in the perfect time and the perfect way, according to unconditional love and the divine plan of perfection. So be it. And beloveds, if you know the story of Isis, if you know what she went through as a divine feminine essence, as a divine feminine role model, being a very powerful goddess, she did not go to war with Set. Understand what you just heard. Rewind it if you need to. You go with the flow of divinity, of what will be born of unconditional love. That is what you put forward, because that is what you will receive, based upon universal laws. Peacefully open your arms wide and become aware of the space between your arms and your heart, growing strong like a ball of magnetic energy forming between your hands, arm, and chest. The most peaceful and relaxed and open you feel, smiling towards your heart, the lighter and more open and energized your arms feel. It begins to feel as if you sit like this all day, that what seems hard or impossible is not so anymore. Suddenly, you realize that your cherished dream, which was just beyond your reach at the beginning of this process, has now become drawn to your energy and now is in reach. In fact, you don't even have to reach for it. It has come to you, drawn to your heart light. You could gently scoop it up in your arms if you wish to do so. Do so now, imagining it as a soft, light ball of energy, and gently place it in your heart with gratitude, guiding it as energy with your hands, using a light touch. When you are ready, say, This cherished desire unfolds with divine perfection now, with deep gratitude in my heart, and open your eyes. And this is the incantation of the spirit of Isis. You can say this incantation at any time you need some pep and encouragement in order not to give in to fear or doubt, and instead to have faith. To have faith. Use this incantation to help you have faith. Repeat the words. Repeat the energy. Listen to the frequency with your heart. Connect with it. Spirit of Isis, enduring and bright, your love more powerful than might. Spirit of Isis, enduring and bright. Your love more powerful than might. Your triumph assured in any fight. I center myself in the truth of your light. Your triumph assured in any fight. I center myself in the truth of your light. Your love makes the impossible real. I go into my heart and feel. Your love makes the impossible real. I go into my heart and feel. The success coming to me at this time, I give thanks for your blessing divine. The thanks coming to me at this time, I give thanks for your blessing divine. Beloveds, like I said, like they said, like they want me to say again, increase your knowledge of the goddess Isis, of those that she embodies, meaning those that came before her. They were her teachers, they were her mentors, they were her strength, they were her guides, they were who nurtured her through her story. They were the ones who enabled the impossible to happen through her faith. She gave birth to a son from the spirit of her husband. And it is that son's energy which we still speak of today. It is that son who will teach you how to take away guilt, who will defeat guilt, who will bring death to guilt. To your human guilt that blocks out the light, the remembrance, the memory, the Akashic reckoning of who you were, what you were before you were born and given a name and realized what it is to feel in this flesh and all the temptations and all the desires and all the shame and all the guilt that goes with it. All of those things had a beginning. They began with birth, the first birth, way down to this one. But the essence, the truth of what you are, was never born. It never needed conditioning. It's perfect in His wisdom. And only ignorance pushes it away. Guilt requires forgiveness of yourself. of everything that you have done in a previous lifetime up until now, whether you have memories of it or not. You were atrocious. You were human. Everything that is done under the sun, you have done. And you have had it done to you. But now is the time to rise above it, to rise above that guilt, to rise above that which holds you down, that which would deny you the truth. Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, Mother with Wisdom, Ocean 9. Sharing with you what is being shared with me in real time, actually, a lot of it. So, just as it was gifted to me, I gift it to you. And I ask that you gift it to others in as many ways as you can. And understand that as you gift it, you are also giving it back to yourself. Oh, blessings. Be safe. Be wise as serpents. And let go of what no longer serves you. And don't feel guilty about letting it go, because you're giving it back to where it came from. To be healed, to be transformed in the essence and in the flow of Isis. Wait in that sacred space for divine perfection to take place as planned. Oh,